proposal, which will be eventually accepted by the KPT. All right. Okay. So without further ado, Prof. IR, Dr. Khoo, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Sumati. Good morning, all my colleagues here. Today, this is just a title. So I'm not sure how many tips that will be helpful to you, but this session is more on sharing with you my experience on writing the proposal, as well as the panel of reviewer for the FRGS grant at the multi level. So hopefully this sharing can clear your doubts or can give you some useful tips to help you to score higher marks in the FRGS applications. As this morning, I can see that there are quite a lot of questions, right, prompted to Prof Hang and also Prof Sumati. And Prof Hang also has mentioned that, our objective is to score the highest possible the marks so that we can be secure or quite confident to get the grant. So this session hopefully will be helpful. Okay, and if you have any question, even after this session, you may also come to me and hopefully we can share and discuss. All right, so the presentations today, the outline is very simple. We only have 3 components, and perhaps I can complete it by 12 o'clock so that we can have early lunch. There are only 3 components or 3 important points that we wanted to go through. Number 1 is that why do we need to write a proposal? I think this is a very general topic, but it addresses the intention or the key point that we wanted to look at when we write a proposal. Because many of the time when we are rushing to write a proposal, we try to put in everything that we know, everything that we have searched from the web or any literature review or articles that we have studied, the knowledge and everything in the proposal. But we have forgotten how to arrange our ideas and the flow of the proposal so that they become interesting, attractive, and readable by the reviewer. Because as the reviewers, we know that MOHI, they have this problem of lack of reviewers, right? For some of the reviewers in other domain, I can see that some of them, they complain that they have up to, 20 or 30 proposals to be reviewed within 2 weeks. Like me, constantly for the past few years, I have been reviewing 10 to 15 these proposals within that 2 weeks of time. So I think for us as an applicant, when we want to write our proposal, we have to always in the shoe of the reviewer. What we want to directly, disseminate or give our ideas to them so that our concept or our ideas can be grasped by them easily, then they would be able to give better marks for our ideas, right? So in the first part, we will look at generally how we wanted to write a good proposal. Then the second part, we will go into the structure and the components of a research proposal, which, for a proposal, it is quite common. We have those components like problem statements, objectives, which have been addressed by Prof. Mani this morning regarding the requirements of each of these sections. But in my section of presentation here, I will try to share with you the soft part and also the experience. Because many of the time, as mentioned also in this morning, that reviewing a proposal is very subjective. It's not objective, right? Objective is based on the requirement. Let's say you must have 3 research objectives. The budget, how much you must put in for each of the category. Those are very objective. Those are follow the requirement. But the objective thing is that how you put forward your ideas, how you write your problem statements. So these are some things that I would like to share with you. And then the third part of this, we will also tell them what are we looking for, right, from their work. So if we know what are the things that will be evaluated or how they are being evaluated, then of course we can score better because we have the target how to write and present our idea better. Okay, so without further ado, we go to the first part, that is a research proposal. So at the very beginning, all the researchers, or we have to ask ourselves, why do we need to write a research proposal? Okay, I think we can generally have these three objectives when we want to write. Okay, because we have an interesting idea that we want to explore, that we want to work on, right? Or we wanted to make a contribution to the knowledge advancement in our discipline or society. And of course, the more importantly is that we want to seek for funding, right? In order to support our investigation, to support our work, and also the realization of the idea. So you can see from these 3 points that none of the point is because of we want to fulfill the KPI, right? So I know that, for example, in Utah, if we have a Utah RF, then we are requested to submit our FRGS. So your initial intention, right, is not there to get the money because you already have the seed fund. Maybe you say you think that it is just to fulfill the KPI, or because my HOD asked me to write a proposal, so I write it, right? So it's irrespective whether I got it. If I got it, then I'm lucky. If I don't get it, oh, then it is okay because I have already fulfilled the KPI, right? So I think the basic of our intention, okay, our real intention is the way that support later on how we work up the proposal and the quality of the proposal. So we must get our intention right at the first place, okay, is that we are interested to do something. We want to know something, then of course, we are eagerly wanted some support, right, to our idea. Then we apply for the proposal. So the only objective for us to write a research proposal, there is only one objective, that is to seek for money, right? We have an idea. Okay, we know some students, we know some people can help us. We need to spend some money, let's say, to buy the equipment, to buy the consumable in order to support our research. So all these need money, okay? And we are seeking a funder to give us the money. So this is the only objective. So how can we get the money from them? You know, money is in their pocket. So how can we win this money so that they will be able to fund us? Number one, the first thing that you need to do is to know your funder. Okay, so what they want. So in terms of FRGS, we wanted to understand the scope of the funding, FRGS, PRGS, and the TRGS. What are the different? Okay, and more specifically, since we are focusing on the FRGS, so we wanted to understand the requirements of the funder in terms of the definition, what kind of the scope, the objective, the vision, mission, all the guidelines, philosophy, and the scopes. So this part, we have already covered it in this morning by Prof Wang, right, on the hard requirements, on the objective and the vision. Because when you look at the application form, the first few parts of it is to ask you to fill up your research domain, your research area, and so. So these are to match your research idea with the requirement of the funder. So when you choose all those items, you have to be careful and make sure that it fulfills, okay, the research topic that you are working on, right? Because if you fill up the different research domain, for example, then you will go into the different reviewer team and their focus may be different, right? So this is the first part and we have already completed it in this morning. Okay, so the second part is basically is what we wanted to focus it now. That is to make the funder know your idea, right? So it is like supply and demand. So the supply side is the part one from the funder, what they want. So now our demand side, okay, so what we can offer them, right? Because they have money, so we want them to support our idea. So our idea must be able to match with what they require. Then only they will fork out the money, right? For example, today you go to a supermarket, you want to buy an electrical appliance, right? So you must fulfill the requirement that you wanted, right? Then only you will choose that particular appliance, right? Or the machine that you want. So what you want to do here, right? When you write the proposal is that you want to present your idea or the research topic and you want to convince the reviewer or the panel that your idea is significant, is new, and is good enough, so that they are interested to fund you. So why is it important to fund your idea, you have to highlight the significance, the innovation, and the potential contribution of your idea or research topic. So it looks like it is very general, okay? But when you really understand all these three terms and you realize it in your proposal will be very interesting and very clear and straightforward for the reviewer to understand. So unfortunately is that in this process, in the application of the FRGS, the only way that we can communicate with the funder or the panel is only through the proposal. Some of the funding, for example, the TRGS, they may call for an interview, and then during the interview, you can present your idea, you can answer their queries, you can defend the method or whatever ideas that you propose. But all this process, okay, is not happening for FRGS. The funder or the panel can only understand, okay, your ideas, okay, your methodologies, or whatever potential contribution that you mentioned through the proposal that you have written. So you can see that from here, the proposal is very important for you to become a communication. And this communication is one way, you see, they can write a comments, okay, like for example, just now, Dr. Yu mentioned that, right? The panel say that can be further improved. And then the improvement can only be done for the next cycle. That means you cannot win at this cycle, right? So this is one-way communication. So when we do the research proposal, what we need to ensure is that the ideas, okay, the methods that we have written is very clear to the panel so that it does not create any queries. And these ideas or the work that we are going to be done, right, under this proposed is very significant to them and also to the discipline, right? So we have to understand the process of the reviewer by the movie is that their numbers of panels, of course, I have mentioned is not big enough. And secondly is that not everybody, right, is for example, is experts in everything. For example, I'm in the transportation, but it does not mean that I can also very know about maritime transportation, air transportation, right? So my expertise is more focusing on land transport. But because, right, they do not have so many reviewer or panel at the stage of the MOHI, so they may also give me the proposal related to maritime, related to air transportation, and I have to review it. So it is very important for me in that case to grasp, okay, the ideas that the researcher wanted to post and to highlight to me what is the problem and the potential significance. So in a nutshell is that I need to be convinced, okay, by the researcher that by sponsoring his or her research, okay, it is actually valuable. And this research, the outcome will be beneficial, especially to the society and to the national level. So this is the concept or the general principle that I use when I review the proposals. Okay, so when I was reviewing the proposal, the things or the ideas that pop up in my mind is that I was hoping that the researcher themselves can help me in the process of review. So how we can help the panel in the reviewing is that we try to give or we say sell our idea in a more direct way, highlight the things that he or she has to see so that he can quickly come to a conclusion whether the proposal is good or not good, right? Or is worth it or not to make a fund. So next one, okay. So many years ago, okay, when I was assistant professor, when I was still very young, although I'm now still very young, okay, I have a very puzzling question on what is a fundamental research. Okay, I think this is maybe also a question by most of our young researchers here. Right, so what is the meaning of fundamental? Because all the whiles, okay, when I do my PhD, when I did my PhD is more on applied research. So how can this applied research become a fundamental research? So these are the things that I have been thinking, many years before I come to this stage. So from Prof Latif's slides, right, when I attended his briefing last year or the year before, he has clearly mentioned these few points as the fundamental research. A fundamental research is a research that leads to the knowledge advancement in the areas of human and natural science. So it is the knowledge advancement. It is not about a prototype development, a system development. It is not, but it's more about knowledge. So when you talk about knowledge, it means that the research would be able to help you to answer why and to answer how this laptop is made of, how the relationship between variable A and variable B, how parameter C can actually impact or effect, okay, certain process, chemical process or whatever so. So this type of research is quantified under the fundamental research. So when I want to do the application, right, I'm actually, it's like you also, we are all researchers, we are also applicants, right? So every 3 years we have to, refresh our mind and, get back the ideas, how we actually can formulate our proposal. So I always will look back at this slide and it reminds me about what is a fundamental research. The important point is the research that answer why and how. So I will be able to formulate my research objective, research questions based on this particular specific statement. Okay, we also look at a fundamental research is also a research that explores the size of the research. So the research that produces new concepts, new ideas, new processes is the research that we quantify them under the fundamental research. Okay, I have been the panel for like many years. When the first year when I joined them as the MOHI panel, okay, during the briefing, okay, the chief actually told us that, when we review the proposal, we can just look at their title. If their title is not fundamental title, we can straight away reject them. Right? That was many years ago. Of course, after so many years, the MOHI panels, their system also improved, and they requested us, of course, to review the whole applications, okay, before we can actually come out with the decision, as well as we are also asked, okay, to give comments, very detailed comments. Last time, many of the reviewers will just cite that this is not good enough, methodology is not detailed enough. So this kind of comments are avoided, okay, in recent reviews, where the panel are asked, okay, to be more specific to help to improve the writing of the applicants, okay, when they are rejected. So basically, these are the points under the fundamental research. Okay, so when we say that, you see here, the research proposal must be tailored to address or solve a problem at the fundamental level. Okay, so as I told you, the history, when we first started, we only look at the title. If it is not fundamental title, we straight away reject. But when time evolved, right, both the reviewer as well as the applicant evolve. When more and more applicants know that, we have to have a fundamental title. So now the reviewer also have to be evolved, because we cannot only judge that application, the proposal, just based on the fundamental keywords in the title. These keywords and the usage of it must follow through and used in every section of the proposal, where not only the title, but the executive summary, the problem statement, the objective, research question, methodology, and research activities. Just last cycle, when I reviewed, I found one of this type of application where the title is very fundamental. They use the fundamental keywords. But when I go through, okay, their executive summary, when I go through the activities and the methodology that the applicant wants to do, I found out that he or she is actually developing a system. It's not a fundamental, because if fundamental, we are looking at the process, we are looking at the knowledge, we are not developing a system or a prototype. So in this case, I can reject it, okay, by specifying that, you know, although the title looks fundamental, but actually the things, the content of the proposal is not fundamental research. So nowadays we can not only write a title which is fundamental, but we also have to inculcate all these fundamental elements throughout our whole proposal, right? So of course, the very basic thing is that you need to use the fundamental keywords, right? Try to avoid using some wording, okay, that might be confusing. Like this morning, I heard that Prof Ang talk about the to develop this keyword, right? To develop, I think I agree with Prof Ang is that it depends on what kind of development you want to do, whether you develop a system, you develop a design, or what type of development, develop a relationship between certain variables. But I think that since, okay, the wording may be confusing, try to use some other wording that when we, with one eye, okay, when we look at it straight away, we can know that, oh, this is a fundamental title, right? So this is my sharing, okay? There is no hard call to say that what kind of keywords we need to use, but of course, I have some of these example, okay, at the later slides. Okay, so for a good proposal, right, we have three important points. Number one is the significance. Number two is the innovation. And number three is practicality. So reviewing of a proposal is very subjective. It depends on how you give your ideas, how you present your ideas, and how you can convince, okay, the reviewer within short time. When we review a proposal, at most we allocate 30 minutes for one proposal, right? I believe all of us, we are all very busy with everything, right? And then, of course, the time that we can allocate for the reviewing of proposal might be very short. So in a very short time, through the communication modes of writing, we should be able to convince, okay, the reviewer. So significance is the things that is what we look at when we wanted to sponsor or wanted to fund, okay, a research. So the research idea is novel, interesting, and meaningful. Okay, many of the researchers may ask, what is the meaning of novel? Right? You say novelty is something that existing research is outdated. Okay, you can properly support that the current study on this topic, on this particular research study is outdated. The methodological limitations or issues that currently they use a static or they look at the deterministic kind of the problem. But nowadays, you know, we have dynamic kind of problem, right? So, or is a very stochastic kind of problem. So the existing methodology cannot solve this updated version of the problem. So we need to renew a research. So that is the reason that support your novelty. And the third point is about the point that mentioned by the researcher. Many of the applicants, they will say that there is no research in the country or in the industry. That's why my research is very important. The topic that I propose is very important because no one has used it before. No one has done it before. Okay, to me, okay, personally, I think that this is not strong enough to support the novelty of your research. Because if there is no one has done it before, it does not mean that this topic is important. You know, so you should highlight the importance of your study. Why is it significant? Why is it important? Rather than just to mention that no one has done it before. And in the previous cycle, during the briefing by the MOHI, okay, someone has actually asked that if that particular research topic has been done somewhere in the world, other countries, maybe in US or UK, but no one has actually done it in Malaysia. So can we consider them the novelty in terms of the national? So the answer given by the chief is that yes or no, right? It is very subjective again, depending on the panel and how you actually present your ideas. For example, maybe this particular research, when it is done in US, it is suitable for the society or the environment of US. But in Malaysia, we have a very different, let's say, traveler behavior or user behavior as compared to the US. So there is a need to localize the research, to look at what will it be, if we do it in Malaysia. Like for example, the weather, okay, in US and also in Malaysia is different. So your products or maybe your materials that you want to test will have a different behavior under different environment, under different weather. So it is very important to do it in Malaysia. So if you can support your ideas in this way, then the novelty is there, right? So that, of course, depends on how you do your justification. And the second point is the potential impact. Does the research problem have an important problem to address? Okay, if the research is successful, how will the knowledge be advanced? So these are something that depends on how you can goreng, right? We say goreng, that means how you can brush up your ideas, okay, and make it significant for the reviewer to get the point. Okay, then the second point is about the innovation. What are the innovation that you have proposed? You have to highlight it very well. Is it the new ideas, the new problems that you wanted to solve, or the methodologies? The problem is old, is existing, but the methodologies that you are using it, okay, is something that is new. For example, my previous applications is on the traffic signal. So we know traffic signal timing is something a very old, very ancient kind of topic. But what is the methodology that we can apply? For example, we use some reinforcement learning, some AI, right? And then try to look at it, how we can improve the optimization of traffic signal. So this is something innovative that we are looking at. Okay, if not methodologies, is it approaches or any other things that you think is new and innovative that you want to propose? Secondly, is the idea unique and interesting? Of course, these are supplement with each other, the points. How does the proposal contribute to the state of the art or the state of the practice of the discipline, right? You don't only talk about something that is new that you are going to propose. You have to tell also what would be the expected outcome. How can it be beneficial, especially, okay, to the society, right? Sometimes you say, okay, knowledge, maybe it is not application, it is not a system, it might not be beneficial to directly, but it is indirectly. When we know some relationship of, or we know some of the knowledge, then we can further use this knowledge for PRGS or for prototype or system design. So these are the fundamental that we wanted to look at the FRGS level. Okay, next one is practicality. So is the idea of proposal realistic? Are the objectives achievable? You may propose something that is very fantastic, okay, very interesting, but is unfamiliar issue as we talk about the open-ended question and kind of things, right? But it is not realistic, right? It cannot be used or it will lead to nowhere. So there is no practical value, right, to fund your proposal, right? The methodology research activities are doable within the constraint of time, technology, knowledge, and etc. So the point is the constraints, within the constraints, right, within the technology. If let's say you wanted to design, okay, or you wanted to find out the relationship, how to make a rocket, but do we have that kind of technology here? Does it support or not? So these are something practical that we need to think about it. Right? So there are 3 points that we look at for a criteria as a good proposal. And these 3 will follow through. You will follow through or you will realize it. Okay, make it when you write your problem statement, when you write your objectives and others part of your study. Always think about this, right? And then always relate whatever that you have written into these 3 important points here. Okay, I think this is more on the internal, how you ask yourself, how you make your thinking and thoughts, okay, before you write your proposal. Okay, so the next part would be the structure of a proposal. Okay, as I mentioned, okay, this part maybe have some duplication, right, with what have mentioned by Prof, but I'm not looking or I'm not touching on the requirement. Okay, it's more on sharing on the essential parts of each of these proposal, right? So for a title, right, besides the fundamental keywords that we need to use, we try to be specific and concise. okay, reflect overall work, attractive, short and simple. Okay, I have encountered before a very long titles, right? And then they try to put in everything, the problem statement together with their objective and also their methodology in one very long sentence. Okay, but at the end of the day, when the reviewer read it, okay, the title is nowhere, neither here, neither there, right? So this is the thing, when we write the title, it has to include, okay, or we say the essence, okay, of the contents of our proposal, right? So basically title, when I do my own title, I will start with a draft title, and then I will write the literature review and problem statement and so on and so forth. And then at the end of the day, I will come back, right, to review my title again or amend my title again to fix it, to make sure that they are fit together with the content. Right? And also for the title, it is encouraged that if you can include as well the methodology that you are going to use, okay, in your title, then it will be more straightforward and clear. Okay, secondly, the presentation of this section is following the sections, okay, of the applications form. So I also heard just about the research team, right? We have done some discussion just now about the team leader, and Prof Sumati also mentioned that if let's say you are new, right? So you are new to certain discipline, you are encouraged to have a conference paper before to show that, right, you are actually have the interest, okay, in this discipline. Of course, the team leader has to have a very good track of records. Nowadays, when we go into the migrants, we can see all the track records of that particular leader, right, or PI, okay, how many applications that he or she already applied, okay, how many grants that he has gotten, what is the process of the grant, progress of the grants, okay. Of course, you must be completed. Then how well it completes, because some of the applicants, right, the completion, maybe some of the milestone or some of the objective is not met. So if you have this type of records, of course, it may have some minus points, okay, to the reviewer or the panels, but of course, it will not significantly jeopardize. Okay, but if you have a chance, right, try to complete, okay, all of your research grants, especially FRGS, successfully, right, by meeting all the objectives, then it will be a plus point that, you know, it shows that more convincing background and the team leader to this particular project. Okay, a maximum of 5 collaborators, and I think this one has been mentioned, well balanced with junior and senior researchers. You have lecturers, senior lecturers, then you may have associate and the professors, right? So this is always mentioned, okay, by the chief when we are in the briefing. Right? They always want to see some mixture of the junior and senior researchers so that, you know, the senior can guide the juniors and so on and so forth. Okay, and the experts have related expertise to the research topic. Okay, from what I see is that when you actually spell out your research team, you have to mention each of these experts, right, or your team member, what are the items that he or she in charge of. Okay, let's say you have optimization, then you get a mathematician, right? You have something on AI, then you get someone from the computer science, or and you have let's say social science part, right? Then you get somebody from social science. So this is what we call well-matched expertise. Okay, don't try to, you know, include or your friends or your colleagues which are not related, because they will not be your adding point, okay, to your application. But sometimes it may, you know, have a negative points if your group members does not actually match with their expertise. Right, and also you have to make sure that you update, okay, your CV, as well as your team members update your CV, because all your publications will also appear in the process of the evaluation. We can see everything, right? Even the panel can see who is the applicant, and there is no secret, right, under the reviewing process, right? Of course, but we do not actually penalize anyone. We try to be fair to everyone. For the executive summary, right? I think this has been mentioned. Okay, highlight the problem statement, state the research objectives. So when we do this executive summary, we have to write it within 300 words. Within 300 words, you have to give 6 points, right? So you have to divide it 30 words for each of the point. So when I write my proposal, I will try to give the answer for each of these points. Highlight the problem statement. So I will write a problem statement under this. And then at the end of the day, I will combine all these together, read it again, amend it, and try to tidy up within the 300 words. When I review some of the proposal, I can see that some of the researchers, they actually give a very thorough background introduction to their research topic, but they forgot, okay, to mention about their expected output. Their expected output outcome, they always give only one sentence. This particular research is very useful. Expected to give significant, outcome to the society and the display. But this kind of sentence, it does not actually contribute any points to your write-up. Right? You say it is significant. So how significant is significant? In what way it is significant? So this is the thing that you need to explain. Not just to mention one sentence, say that, oh, this research is expected to be very significant. Right? So it does not help. So you have to be more details, but not too detailed enough because it is within the 300 words. So executive summary, usually I will write it at the end of everything. After I have done the whole proposal, then only I will jump back to this executive summary, try to clear my thoughts, what I actually wanted to tell the researcher, I mean the reviewer, right, in a very short manner. Concise, straightforward, and hit the points. This is the key point of executive summary. A good executive summary is not easy. It's not just to describe what you have done, to describe what you want to do, right? But it's more on how to briefly tell your idea and convince, okay, the reviewer in that sense. Right. So next one is on the research background. Another key portion that I will read usually when I come to the review process is the problem statement. Because to me is that how you highlight, how you find out the problem is the backbone of your whole research idea. Okay, this is the place where you tell the reviewer, how do you know that there is a problem? And then this is the place also for you to write how important or when this problem is not tackled. Okay, so you see that problem statement is a statement that states or lists the current issue or problems that require a research study to improve the situation. So usually we can mention or we can list the issue in the 3 elements. Highlight the research gap. So what are the research gap or the limitations that currently have? Just now I have mentioned that it can be methodological, it can be approaches, or maybe some new problem that no one has actually looked at it, right? Or the research has been outdated. So this part has to be well supported by the literature review. That is the evidence. You cannot write the whole literature review in this problem statement, but you can mention briefly, is a summary of your literature review section in this place. Right? In the literature review, you give a very detailed, right? A, B, C, okay, these are the studies. Okay, what are the limitations of each of these studies? But in the problem statement, you summarize the literature review and put it here to support that, there is a gap, there is a limitation that require you to do a further study, that require you to do this research. Okay, secondly is to explain the consequence of not addressing the issue or problem. Indirectly, in this way, when you say, okay, if this problem is not addressed, then, okay, traffic congestion will continue to happen. If this does not address, right, then the ridership of public transport will be very low. So indirectly, when you mention about this, you are highlighting the importance of your study. So you need this study so that this consequence can be addressed, right? Then the third point is that why it is important to address the issue. So these two are quite similar, but is a bit different. Consequence, you mentioned about what is the expected outcome if you didn't address it. Okay, the problem will prolong, the problem will get worse. Okay, so it is important. So how you solve the problem? So how you address this problem? That would be the three important elements under the problem statement. So this problem statement is very important because it is a foundation of whatever that you are going to build up there. Your research methodology, your research objective, your research questions, all is built based on this problem statement. So if the reviewer can understand the problem, the reviewer agree with the problem that you mentioned, then the subsequent sections will be very easy for he or she to review and to give you the points. Right? So to me, I think that this problem statement is very important. Secondly is the hypothesis, right? Just now, Prof. Wang mentioned that hypothesis is optional. Okay, according to the requirement of the FRGS, it is optional. Okay, and before that, we look at hypothesis is a statement that suggests a possible explanation or relationship for a specific observation of variables. So a hypothesis should be specific, should be clear, stating the expected relationship between certain variables, okay, between some experiments. So I believe that if you are doing some experimental study, right, you want to know A plus B, what is the relationship, or you are doing some mathematical modeling, then you will have the hypothesis. Under certain situations, maybe from the social science of view, you might not have hypothesis. But I thought our objective is to score the higher the possible in terms of our points. So I would encourage you to think about, try to make this, to write something in this hypothesis, right? Because I believe that all of the research should have the hypothesis, because these are the things that we wanted to investigate. Some questions that you want to look at. You have the research questions, then you can bring up your hypothesis. So research questions is a concise, clear, and specific query that defines the scope and purpose of a research project. The research questions serve as the foundation for the research study. So the research questions can reflect the novelty, the scope, the relevancy, and of the research topic. So the research questions actually is related to your hypothesis. Right? For me, when I actually write my hypothesis, I always link it with the research questions. For example, my research questions is to, what is the relationship between variable A and B? So that is my research question. So my hypothesis is that variable A is positively related to variable B. So this is hypothesis. Then I will come to the research objective. So my objective is to look at, to investigate the relationship between variable A and variable B. So you can see that these three parts, okay, the research questions, the hypothesis, and the objectives, they are related. So you can see here, they are all related. Okay, and just now, Prof. Wang mentioned that, right, you can have the number of hypotheses since it is optional, right? So you can have any numbers of it. But to me, when I write my research proposal, I try to make three of them align. So if I have three research questions, I will have three hypotheses and then three research objectives. Right? So it was encouraged to have 3 to 5 research objectives, right? But normally I will use 3 because I think 3 is more than enough for us to do as our work scope. If you have more, then it will be, more tedious and more work maybe you need to do, right? So when we write the proposal, something that we think, the idea, everything is very draft, right? Is actually a bad. So whether in the future, whether we can realize all this is very unpredictable because there are so many factors and variables involved. I believe, okay, most of you have this experience. So we try to limit the number of research and objectives. So this is how I inline all these three. Because last time I have been reviewed by some reviewer as well. When I didn't put in the hypothesis, they actually, they are not happy and they put down in the comment saying that there is no hypothesis. And then they say that the research question and hypothesis is not tally, not in line, this and that. So at the end of the day, I collect all their comments and then In the future, all my proposal, I make them in line and then the number is the same. So these kind of comments never come back to me again. Okay, so if they are in line. So this is my experience. It is not something cast in stone that you must follow, right? But this is my experience throughout the years, right? So if you think that it is useful, you can adopt it. If you think that, you know, it is not relevant to you, then it is fine, okay? You don't make it as like a guideline, and at the end of the day, you say that, you know, Prof Khoo say that must do like this. I never say must do, okay? It is a sharing, right? So it is subjected to whether you like the idea or not. If you think that it is okay for you to use it, then you use it. If it is not, then it is fine, right? This is not cast in stone. So for research objective, Prof also has mentioned that it must be measurable and achievable. It's like when we do our learning outcome, right? When we spell out our learning outcome, we have the Bloom taxonomy levels, their keywords to help us, right? So we can also use the fundamental keywords. So this was something suggested by Prof Latif last time in his slides, right? These are the keywords for reference. So again, it's for reference, right? You can use it if you like. If you're not, then it's also up to you. For example, to define, to formulate, to classify, to determine, to characterize, to treat, to model, to optimize, to compare, to survey, to validate, to simulate. And also, if you have three or five research objectives, try not to use the same keywords again and again. Okay, the first one is to define the relationship A and B. The second one is to define the relationship B and C. Right, then the third one also to define. Right, so everything is the same. It looks like the same, of course it is different. But if you can have different, use the different keywords to actually explain the objective that we want to achieve, that will be better. Right, so that is also a sharing. Okay, so this one I have done. Okay, so sorry, I have to come back here. Okay, then the literature review. Okay, literature review. We know how to do literature review. We write a lot of papers, right? So this part is something that is very familiar for us. We all have experience. Okay, but when you write the research proposal, the literature review, the objective is to provide a background, okay, for the reviewer. If the reviewer is exactly match your research expertise, right, then of course they can know whether your idea is good or not. But if not 100% match, maybe 50 or 60% match, then the literature review is very important for he or she to understand, right, the background of this research study. So literature review, in the literature review, you need to describe or explain the existing research study on the topic, including the research problem that they address, the methodologies that they adopt, the findings or outcome of these studies. Just these three. Don't give any literature review about the terms. You know, I actually gone through some proposal before. Their literature review is like a thesis kind of literature review. They start with all the theoretical jargon, the theoretical theories, everything, right, of that particular topic. But they forgot to provide a critical review. They give all the descriptive review. So at the end of the day, I learned all these concepts, all the terms, but I do not know what is the stand of the existing studies. Okay, because if I do not know the existing study, how is the status, how can I justify the problem statement that you have mentioned? How can I justify the novelty and the significance of the idea that you have proposed? Okay, so I need this literature review section to justify. So the important thing is that you provide this background sufficient enough for me to do such a justification, not to put in everything like you are writing a thesis. Right? So the key point is that you summarize and you synthesize the review to support your viewpoint. Okay, most probably is that you can go into section. For example, first section or first paragraph, first few paragraphs, you talk about the research problem. Then the second paragraph, you talk about what are the prevailing methodologies. Okay, and then the third paragraph, you talk about the findings. And then at the end, highlight the limitations. Okay, this part I think Prof Wang also mentioned, the summary and the highlights of the existing studies. okay, and identify the research gaps. You have mentioned it in the problem statement. And in this literature review, you repeat it again so that you can, remind the reviewer that, okay, these are, what I say is true in the problem statement. These are the review. These are the existing studies, okay, that have been done. Okay, then these are the things, right? So the key point of literature review is sufficient length, sufficient points to support your problem statement, to provide, okay, the background of the study so that the reviewer understand, okay, what is the current status of the existing studies, not to know of everything from A to Z. We don't have time to go through so many things, right? So then the literature review will be linked to the references. Okay, more importantly is within latest 5 years. The references, not too few, not too many, around 10 to 15 is good. Okay, so for me, sometimes I just give about 15 to 20, right? 10 to 15 is just a reference for you. Okay, there will be no penalty if you give 20 or you give 21 or you give 16. Right? But if you give a long list, like one of the applicants one of the proposal where I read, it has, I think, 30 or 40 references. Okay, to me, this kind of literature review is very hard for me to get the idea. Right? So suggested within 10 to 15. If you have 20, it's fine. No need to reduce it to 15. Right? So it must be relevant to the research topic. Okay, more importantly is that it's critical review, straightforward to the point, what you want to say. Right? Next one is about this, relevance to government policy. Again, this section is, you see the bracket, if any. So this section again is optional. You want to write it or not is up to you. But again, come back to our point. Our point is to score the highest the possible, right? The scoring point. So write it here. Okay, I have encountered some proposals that under this section, it say not available. Not available. So there are so many government policy, such as Rancangan Malaysia, local plan, structure plan, master plan, blueprint, policy paper. There are so many, right, by our government, not only federal, state government, and also the local government. Then there is none of these policy relevant to your study, to your idea. So do you think that the funder, the government as a funder, they want to fund your idea? They want to fund your work? Since it is not relevant to any of my policy, right? So these are something that is not a fixed requirement, but it is some other point, right? So instead of you get 7 points for this research background, maybe with this government policy, you write it very well, and then you can convince, okay, the reviewer say that, oh, really very relevant to our policy, it's very useful, we need it, then you can get 9 points, right? Who knows? Nobody knows, right? So these are a little bit of things that maybe we think that is not important, but indirectly it can help us to get some additional points. Okay, at the end, maybe the extra 1 point is the point that bring you up from the cutting off points, right? So by listing out the government policy is not sufficient. You have to link this policy to your research topic, explain the relevancy and how the research topic can contribute to the knowledge advancement with respect to these policies. And then some may ask me, do we want to propose one policy enough or as many as possible? Right? Always not to one end. Right? To me is that if I have one, then I will write one, at least one. Okay, if I can find another two, I can write up to maximum 3, let's say. Okay, for me, I think in the previous, I write it 2. I choose the most relevant 2 government policy and then be very specific in the master plan, in the Kuala Lumpur Transport Master Plan, item 3.1. Okay, he mentioned, the government mentioned that he wants to achieve, ridership of 50% for public transport in year 2030. So by doing this study, we understand the behavior of the public, the road user, then we will be able to, shift or improve the ridership. So the way how we explain is very important, not just to, list down, or Rancangan Malaysia one is relevant to me. I always be very specific, go into the details to show that you actually read that particular plan or policy. You really actually understand what the requirement of the policy, and then you are able to relate it to your research idea. Okay, so that will be a convincing right out. Although it is optional, right? But I think it's something good for the reviewer to get it. Heading point. Okay, next one. Okay, then we come to the methodology. So basically, from what I can think of, the types of the research that we are going to do can be empirical, can be experimental, can be simulation. So I try to ask ChatGPT, okay, it cannot tell me any others. If you have any others, you can let me know. I can improve my slide in the future. Right, so in the methodology, right, you explain how to answer or test or investigate your research questions. You have a very good heads up. You explain everything already. Your research is very significant. It's very important, right, to the government policy, to the society, to your discipline, right? Then now, how you want to do it, right? This will involve the practicality, whether your methods that you use can achieve your objective or not. You don't be you don't be surprised that I have reviewed some of the proposal that the methodology that they use cannot achieve their objective. Okay, the way that they wanted to let's say study some relationship, but they use survey, questionnaire survey. Then they wanted to look at the statistical analysis or whatever. So to me, I write in the comment saying that your methods that you adopt cannot achieve your objective. So it is very important that you choose a methodology. Okay, you are confident that your methodology can achieve your objective. Okay, he also describes the tools, the plan to use to gather the data. If in the case you are doing experimental, how many data set, what kind of data, right? What kind of materials that you use, what is the procedure, okay, any standard procedure, ASTM, BS, or whatever that you are going to use, right? How many round of testing, and so on and so forth. If you are doing empirical, what are the sites that you are going to visit, how many sites, how many samples, what are the sampling methods. So these are very specific, right? Based on the research idea or your own discipline. So these are very general. The points that I give you is very general. So you may use it as a reference. Okay, so for the parts of methodology, I would encourage you to write in step by step, right? Because we have the whole section there. Try to separate it into steps. Step 1, okay, I will do this. Okay, step 2, this. Step 3, this. It will be easy for the reviewer to study your methodology. As I say, we as an applicant, our task besides presenting our idea, we also want to help the reviewer to review our proposal. When we help them, means that they can understand us more. So you present it clearly, then they can grasp your idea correctly in a very short time, then they will be very happy. Then you will get better points and scores, right? You don't want, just like when we mark our exams, right? If the student's writing is very bad, then it will spend you a lot of time, you will be unhappy. All right now. So this, we are all human. We are the proposal is not marked by AI or machine. So we have to always think of all this kind of something that is not in the requirement. Okay. So okay, come back methodology. All right. So step by step, I have seen some of the applications from other universities. For each of the steps, they mention who are the experts that will in charge for that particular section. Okay, but of course, this is no what to say requirement of doing that, and I never do that. Okay, it's all fine. It's just some additional points, maybe for sharing, so that you can know. Okay, then the second point is the flowchart of research activities. This is a very important point. It's more, I think, to me, it's more important than the research methodology, because when I look at the methodology, when I review the proposal, the first thing that I go into is the flowchart. The flowchart has not so many of words. So a picture tells 1,000 words, right? You look at the picture, you look at the flowchart, you already know what kind of methodology they want to use. You can see the logical flow, you can see the sequence, right? Everything is there. Then after based on the flowchart, you already can understand about 50 to 60% of what they are going to do. Then only you go back to look at their description or methodology. Then you can understand 100%. Then very quickly you can justify whether this methodology is practical enough, is good enough to address the objective. So from the reviewer point, is so simple. So from our point here, when we write our proposal, okay, we also make it very simple, straightforward. Right? Some of the applications or some of proposal when I read is very complicated. Their methods, you know, they go into very details, and then some more they provide a literature review on their methods. Okay, they look at step 2, I'm going to use AI, for example, okay, neural network. Then after that, they mention what is neural network, types of neural networks, and that. This is not supposed to be here in the methodology. If you want to talk about the methodology, the background, then you have to mention it in the literature review. So in the methodology, you just straight away tell what AI that you want to use, what neural network that you want to use, why you choose this neural network, what is the advantages of using this neural network compared to other or existing studies. So these are the methodologies straightforward to make people understand. Right? Okay, then the third one, so naturally, when you get your methodology correctly, when you get your flowchart well, then you can write your research activities and you have the milestone. So this morning, we also know that, right? The rule of thumb given by Utah is that 1 milestone in 6 months. And then the milestone is the group of the project activities are carry out within these 6 months. So if a research activity, the first one you say, okay, I will do lab work 1, lab work 2, right? So in your milestone would be completion of lab 1 and lab 2, right? Sometimes their milestone is not in line with the research activity. So in the research activity, they say I want to do lab 1, lab 2, but in the milestone they say achieve lab 3, right? Example, okay? So they are not in line, okay? So we have to make sure that our milestone is a summary of the several research activities that we group together. And then we have 1 milestone in 6 months. And then your timeline for your research activities, you have to adjust it so that, you can meet the timeline for your milestone. So you have to arrange and plan your research activities such that it is not too detailed. Okay, it's general enough, but it can meet the milestone. Okay, so since we already know this, I'm not going into very detail on this. And then the expected results, okay, for me, number 1 is also very important, novel theories, okay, new findings. This is the place where you go in, where you sell your idea. Again, you have mentioned it a lot in your problem statement, right? In your literature review, you have already mentioned a lot the methods, okay, or the ideas that you wanted to sell, right? You wanted to do. Then again, here you stress, okay? You can repeat, okay? You can also stress, highlight the significance of the outcome, how it is useful. And then the second part is the impact statement of this printable helix. This is very important because in the marking scheme, okay, there is some point locations that you need to look at it. So you have to explain it, okay? Try to explain for all the aspects here, the society, academia, government, industry. Try not to put not available. Not available means that it's not related. So how can your research has no relationship with environment or anything? I think there's a mistake in that thing, right? So try to make sure that you have some writing in every of these sections. Research publication, okay, at least 2 review journals, right? This we have already discussed a lot. The number of PhDs, the IPs also just now we have mentioned, right? So if you don't have IPs, don't put it. It will not give you any point. If you put it, you have to commit it, then you have to deliver. That is a burden to you. So don't put it, okay? Just put not available. So this section you can put not available, no problem, okay? Okay, the budget and materials, the equipment and materials and budget. So this one I don't go into details. Prof Ang already mentioned it. You just follow the guidelines. So make sure that the budget that you propose is reasonable and decent, right? Try not to overquote. Provide justification and quotation wherever it's necessary. So for each of the year, the budget will change. During the briefing to the reviewer or panel, MOHI will tell us, okay, this year, how much they are going to allocate, let's say for local travel, for local training, right? For international travel, how much is the maximum? Right? Or for the reviewing of paper, proofreading plus the publication fee, how much is the maximum? So every year it change. I can't remember also. Maybe the year before is 10,000, maybe this year is 8,000. So it will change depending on their budget. I think the amount of fund that they have. So I think as an applicant, we do not need to worry too much, right? We just put a decent number. Okay, then if it is too much, they will cut it, right? But make sure don't too low. If too low, they won't add up for you, right? So you just put a decent budget. Okay, since they mentioned about 8K, I think it's all right. Okay, so this one, I think there is no other things that need to be highlighted here. Okay, next one is about the pattern search. I think just now also there are somebody asking about the pattern search. So you have to access to this website, http://lens.org, and then you use your keyword to search the pattern. Okay, in the application form, at first you will put your keywords, right? You may have 3 or 4 keywords. And then here in the pattern search, you may choose one of the most relevant keywords. Okay, then you type in this website, they will list down, okay, all the numbers, this and that. Okay, then you can also do some simple analysis using the website, right? Then you fill up the simplified pattern search report form, then you attach to the application. So in the application, there is a box for you to fill up some write-up about this pattern search. You don't just search, right? Fill out the form, attach, that's it. You have to explain your pattern search results. Okay, what is the keyword that you use? How many patterns are found? What is the trend of the, I forgot, you have to add in. What is the trend of these patterns? Is it increasing trends, decreasing trend, or stagnant over the past 10 years, over the past 20 years? Okay, where the patterns are found, okay, in US, in UK, okay? How is the pattern filing situation in our region, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia? A lot, okay, only a few. Who are the companies or who are the person who file, universities who file these patterns? Right, so these are the key points that you can explain, you can describe in your pattern search results. So in the marking rubrics, okay, they will give us the marking rubrics. Of course, I can't reveal it to you, but just some example, okay? If you only give the form, you don't have any explanation, maximum 5 points. Example. If you have explanation, okay, very detailed explanation, maybe maximum you can go 10. If you just some, a so-so explanation, simple explanation, maximum 7 or 8. So there are guidelines, or we say marking rubrics for the panel to follow. Right, so try to make it better. Okay, this session will pop out when your overall scoring is more than 75. So again, our objective is to score as higher as possible. So we have to make sure every section is done well, whether they will be evaluated or not. It is another question, okay, and it is not within our control. Okay, then secondly is a research collaborator. I saw also just now there's some question. So actually in the briefing, okay, the chief has mentioned that MOU or email is not acceptable. Okay, if you give MOU, there will be no marks for you. They only accept the letter letter of intent with the letterhead of the collaborator. And also there is a difference in terms of the industry collaborator, agency or organization, because depending on the field. Okay, for example, for engineering, we can get industry collaborator. For some science, social kind of research, maybe there is no industry collaborator for them. Then they will need to get agency or organization. So if let's say you are engineering, right? So you go to get some agency or organization. I'm not so sure whether this is okay or not, because according to there is some guidelines for us, some rubrics for us to follow. But for me, when I look at most of our applications, especially the engineering, there is no such problem. Okay, our research collaborator always is a right person. Okay, so you cannot, simply go and find any of the company or any of the non-related agency and come and say that they want to be a collaborator. So it is very important also for you to describe and explain the role of your industry partner. Okay, so if it is not related, okay, the reviewer, when they read your explanation, your description, they will know this industry partner is not relevant. Okay, then the marks will not be given. Okay, so this again will pop up only when it is more than 75. So if it is not, you don't bother. Okay, but if you are convinced, you are confident that your application, your proposal is very good, then you better make it all good. Okay, and the last part I think is a risk assessment. Okay, for this one also we have the rubrics. Okay, they tell us, how to justify the write-up of the applicants. So you have to perform the SWOT analysis to the project risk assessment in terms of technical, time, and budget. So just now I heard Prof Wan say that, you don't put everything low. You don't put high, right? You can have too low, one medium maybe. So if you put it low, you have to justify why it is low. Okay, you don't just put low, that's it. You have to justify why the technical is low, or because all the research team is very strong in the background, right? Your expertise match very well. You are very confident. Okay, you can also write, you as a leader is very confident, right? Then in terms of time, maybe in terms of time, you can say it's medium, because sometimes, some other things are not within our control. For example, purchasing, right, may go over, and then the time when we look for our research assistant, right? So these are the maybe something that you can write there, but you don't write it very seriously, right? Until cannot be tackled the problem. Then as a funder, I would think that it's very risky to give you the fund, right? So after you write some, I mean the possible challenge that you have, right? Then you also need to, like the SWOT, also need to tell, right, how you are going to solve this. I say you say purchasing, right? Then maybe you can say that, purchasing can be done earlier or something like that. Right, and then I remember in my last application, I put budget as a medium because I say that due to the fluctuation of our currency, right? So the budget I put in purchasing of my equipment and also purchasing for international travel, right? So maybe can be more than what is budgeted because our currency is fluctuating, right? So the way how we solve it is that maybe we can consider a different locations, right? Or maybe we can try to purchase those equipment related that we need to import, right, early or something like that, right? So when you tell the problem, you have to tell how you going to countermeasure to tackle to your problem. Don't just tell the problem. Then it will become like very risky to fund you. Okay, so I think that's all for the part 2. Okay, and then last part is the evaluation criteria. I would like to share with you some marking, the rubrics, not the marking. The marking we cannot review because we already signed the NDA, right? We cannot tell confidential. So these are something that appear in most of the briefing that we go through, right? So these are the scoring. So you can see from here is that your methodology is important, right? But you see the first part, executive summary, research background, objective, these are together already 37 points, right? So if this you write item 2, 3, 5, item 2, 3, 4, you write it correctly, your number 5 should be able to support whatever it is. Okay. So the evaluation criteria, title. So these are something, the rubrics that we can say the rubrics that we look at. And this has been also, I have discussed it in the part 2 just now, right? Specific, title has to be specific, right? Brief and reflects the content of the proposal. Executive summary is all these 5 components has to be there. Okay, research background, elaboration of title, clarity of problem statement, cited most recent related reference in line with government policy. Right, so you see here, they mentioned about government policy. So in your research background, if you say not available, then here you have less mark, right? Objectives, and smart objective relate to the problem statement or research question. Methodology has to be clear and detailed, right? Very detailed, because later on your budget will be based on the methodology. If you say that I'm going to do a questionnaire, 1,000 questionnaire, then you have to budget, right? One questionnaire, 10 ringgit. So how much is that? So these two are related, right? So if you say you need to do samples, right? I don't know, the chemical things that you want to buy. So you do 5 times and compared to you do 10 times, the amount that you require will be different. So the budget will be different. So the budget, when we come to a budget, we will always refer back to your methodology to see whether they are tallying or not. Okay. Expected results, new theories, new findings, publication, okay, human capital, masters or PhD, impact on society, economy, and nation. The team members, evidence of the previous successful research projects, well-balanced team, qualification, and rank of researchers. I think this one, if I'm not mistaken, they also have a rubrics, like how many the combination, but I can't really remember. Okay, so just make sure that you have well-balanced team, junior and senior, that will be good enough. Quality of proposal, the use of the language, good formatting and presentation, and meticulous. Okay, other things that we did not assess, then we will go into quality of proposal. Elements of FRGS criteria, novel, okay, cutting edge, high impact, and translational potential. Okay, so this later I will give the slide to IPSR, so you may look at it. Okay, so this is the scoring scale. Right, so normally is that recommended and highly recommended. We want to score as higher as possible, okay? Because if you are highly recommended, it also does not guarantee that you will get it, because they based on the amount of grant that they have. So the highest that you are in, let's say rating 9, rating 8, then you are more confident, okay? So if any of the criteria that I mentioned just now, okay, any of the criteria that I mentioned just now, if less than 5, okay, project will automatically go into not recommended. Okay, so you can see here, right? So you can have 7A, 7A for many of all of your sections, but at the end, right, your scoring may be also at the low side, right? So we try to get higher the possible. Okay, so when we add up, we can get a high score. Okay, so lastly is some sharing. Okay, about this reviewer or RMC panel comments. So I think the applicants need to understand that when we do the submission, we will go to the RMC. So RMC is a Research Management Center. So our Research Management Center is IPSR. So IPSR will have the RMC panels. RMC panels can be from our own university or can be some outsider, okay, depending if, let's say, our university does not have the relevant alternative experts in your field, then maybe you need to source from other universities. Okay, so these people, these panels, they will read your proposal the first hand, right? Then they will give you the comments. Okay, after that, IPSR will revert your proposal back to you. You will need to improve. Okay, so now is the point is that as an applicant, we need to take it very seriously. Okay, the comments from the RMC panels, right? We have to make sure that we do the amendments according to their suggestion or their comments. So wherever possible, okay, wherever reasonable, then you do it. If you think that their comments are not reasonable, then you have to justify why you think that, okay, this cannot be complied, this comment cannot be complied. Because as I told you, okay, in the panel, in the MOHI level, we can read everything related to the history of your application. Okay, so this is my habit, you know, when I first look at the proposal, I won't jump into any section. I will click on the RMC panel reviewer, RMC panel comments first. I want to see how other people comments on the proposal, right? And then I want to see how the applicant actually address. Okay, because when these comments actually give me the ideas that what will be the potential, limitations or weaknesses of this particular proposal. So when I look at it, okay, if the reviewer say all good, then of course I will trust it and read it by myself, right? But if the reviewer highlighted some important points, right, that I also agree that this can be a very significant, comments, then I will look at how the comments are dealt with, and then I will of course go through the proposal again. And then I think I remember that last time Prof Sumati asked me regarding the RMC panels, their recommendation, right? Whether they highly recommended or they recommended, okay, is there any difference, make a difference on the MOHI level or not? It is actually no different, not so much of different. Means that if let's say the RMC panel, they suggested, highly recommended, I as the MOHI panel, I might not follow what he said, right? I will go through it by myself. I will give my own marking and scoring. So, but more importantly, the marks is, the recommendation is not that critical. The most critical part that can kill your application is the comments that they give and the way how you reply. I remember in one of the briefing, I don't know which year, okay, the chief actually told us that we have to go through the history of their application, okay, look at, and when I look at the comments, okay, of the proposal, actually, I can find that some of the applicants are very arrogant, right? They don't want to change their application. They don't want to change their proposal. Okay, they just simply answer, justify that it's not compliant, and then never answer. But at the end, of course, the reviewer agree with what they have justified. Okay, so this is actually not true. So this gives you some hints, right? Some points that when you go through this proposal, right, later on, these unanswered comments, you put in as your own comments, right? Then you can penalize that particular proposal, right? So this is human, right? When we look at things, right, it's not by machine, it's not by AI. So we look at overall, we try to compare, and then we try to have some reference to help us do our work more easily, and then in a more accurate way. Right? So these are some things that we as applicant, we have to be very careful about, right? So this may be something that, kill your proposal. So as like Dr. Yu mentioned just now, right? Sometimes we say we depends on our luck. Yeah, it's true, because different reviewer, right? Different panel, they have their own style. The way that I share with you is my style. It does not mean that other panel also they follow my style. Okay, even the guidelines is given or rubrics are given by the MOHI, it does not mean that all the panel will follow. So sometimes in that way is kind of the luck, which panel we actually, our proposal go to. But on the other side of the thoughts is that if our proposal is solid enough, is good enough, it doesn't matter whether we go to a reviewer or a panel who simply do their job, right? Or we go to a panel who actually very strict and then look at everything in a very detail. Okay, no matter which type of the panel that review your proposal, if your proposal is solid and good enough, I believe that you should be able to convince either or both of them, no matter who are they. Right? So if your proposal itself is not solid enough, then it would be depend on your luck. If you go to the one that simply do the work, they look at section 1 and 2, oh, not good enough. They straight away give you very low marks and you are out. You go to the very strict one, maybe they will read the whole thing, they will think about your idea, then they will give a comments or something like that. So I think at the end of the day, it still fall back to us, ourselves, what we can do. Because at the panel part, we cannot control who are going to read. But if we make our proposal very solid, very good, I think the word that I like is clear and straightforward. Even it is he or she is not an expert, when he reads your proposal, he can understand what you want to do. Then this is an excellent proposal that no one can reject. Right? That is what I think. So At the end, I wish everybody good luck so that I hope that UTA can also get more funding in the coming cycle. That's all for now. Thank you everyone for your time. Back to you, Prof. Martin.
Thank you very much, Prof. Dr. Khoo Hooi Ling. That was very fruitful and enriching sharing from your side on all the evaluation techniques that we at the KPT level that they are using and so on. Okay, so I hope participants you have heard all the messages from Prof. Khoo Hooi Ling, and also any question, guys, as usual. Okay, we are ahead of time as well. We're supposed to have it until 12:45. It's okay. So you can raise your hand to ask question, or can also put it in the chat. Let me look at the chat. Okay, so far we do not have any questions yet. Okay, members, it's time for you to ask questions. Any questions to Prof. Khoo Hooi Ling?
Good, clear enough?
Yeah, I guess a very clear presentation and also sharing section, I guess. No questions.
Hello, Prof. Sumati. Actually, I have a question. I'm Ramesh from FICT. And last time I submit my proposal and I got this feedback like I should add some senior professors in my list. So as of now, in my faculty, there is only associate professor and one professor other, but they were not really related to my research area. In that case, like, how can I find someone senior in my field in my own faculty, Prof? Is it something similar? Like instead of I'm in working on text, they work on videos and other medias. So is it still acceptable? Because this was a comment given by the from the Mohi team.
The team member can be from outside university. That means other local university or the IPTS in Malaysia. So I believe in your area there should be somebody seniors, right, in other universities. Then they can be the team member.
Okay, then in that case, like actually I added from University of Malaya, I added one associate professor. They said they want it from the same institution. I added as one of my collaborator.
Oh, okay. Then that is very specific because in our marking rubrics there is no such specific, as long as associate professors and professors are accepted as senior.
Oh, okay, okay. Then I will see someone here. Thanks.
Just to add on to Dr. Ramesh, really, you can always, if you do not have anyone from our university, you can have it from outside as well. I mean, you can engage other personnel who are in the experts from other universities.
But my comment was like they said I should find someone senior from my own institution because I added actually from University of Malaya one associate professor, and the comment was like this actually. I was shocked. But anyway, I will find someone from my own faculty, Doctor. Yeah, thanks.
But sometimes I think some comments are really irrelevant.
Very weird, yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes they don't know what to comment and then they simply comment. As we say that, I don't know how the KPT panels are trained, but most of them like are not really in line, and some of them have their own ideology, so we cannot say much. Okay.
Thanks for the comments. Thanks, Doctor.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon. So this is Nisar from FPGT. So, Prof, I got this comment in my current FRGS. My proposal was related to health sciences. I am from electronic engineering faculty. So the comment that they gave me is that we are doing the neurofeedback training, and they gave me that I should also get the MRI scans of all the subjects. Which is very expensive and which does not go in line with our proposal, you can say. And if I include the MRI scans for all subjects, we have 100 subjects, and into 2 times means it will be at least 150K. So this is not feasible for me. And just like you mentioned that sometimes you look at the history of the proposal, right? So what I can do is if I resubmit this proposal, because I'm not going to add this in any case, because it's very expensive, right? Because one scan is around 1,000 ringgit. So if I do 2 scans per person into 200, so you can calculate, right? So I can just add a line. What do you recommend? Like if I resubmit it, I can somewhere add a line that MRI is not not feasible for this project because we are using the EEG signals for this project. So what do you recommend in this scenario?
When you say doing the resubmission is at the RMC level or is at the MOHI level?
Yeah, at the MOHI level, right? When we
Okay.
resubmit it in the next cycle, right?
Next cycle, yeah. Then
Yeah,
it would be considered as a new application. So your
Okay.
history about the, the budgeting about the MRI will not be there.
Okay, so that history will not be there. The last year comments will not, they cannot search this?
No, cannot, because this will be a new application already in the new cycle.
Like if
So-
they want
so-
to look at the history of the PI, they cannot look at.
No, the history is that for this particular cycle, for this application that you said, right? Starting from the RMC, comments, okay, until now, then we can see. Okay, so when you resubmit your previous one, then we will go into this similarity check.
Okay,
Because
so we
currently, okay, this is the current, you have your executive summary, everything, then you are going to submit exactly the same proposal in the next cycle 2024, right? So in this case, right, when we go to search the relationship between your current submission and your previous submission will be detected through the similarity check. We will find out that your executive summary will be the same as the previous from our database, from the MOHI database.
Okay, so Prof, what should we actually when we resubmit? Normally, we always revise our proposal, so there are always changes, right? Because in 1 year, of course, we have reached to a slightly different level, and we have slightly different objectives, right? So of course, we will revise the proposal, but we cannot revise everything, right? And totally different. It will not be totally different. So we can change the executive summary somehow a little, but how much similarity is acceptable?
Much, I think less than, I can't remember the number, I think less than 30%.
Less than 30%. And if they only check the executive summary or the whole proposal?
Wait, but the thing is that when the similarity is high, right? We will check through the applications and see whether the same, let's say, okay, your application appears already has similarity very high to this application A. Then we will go and click on the application A to look at who is the PI, who is the researchers. And then we compare with your current submission. So if we see that, oh, the PI is the same as you are the PI, then it has no issue.
Okay.
It will be an issue if, let's say, it's actually plagiarism when somebody's proposal has been hijacked, copy and paste and submitted, then that will be only an issue. If you are the previous submission, let's say if you are the previous submission's co-researcher, and then this round you submit as PI, also no problem.
Okay.
So that means we as a reviewer, you can't see the previous comment, right? I think this is the biggest.
We cannot see the, I mean, this cycle 22-3 comments, I cannot see. But what I can suggest you to do is that because somebody has commented that you need to do the MRI and you don't want to do the MRI, so in your technique methodology or wherever, so you just mentioned that in this case we are not going to do MRI because of what, but try not to say because the cost is very high, but try to justify why MRI is not needed technically in your research. Then then this comment will not appear again because sometimes it's like that. The same applications when they resubmit, this case happened to me actually. This particular application, I read it already in the previous cycle, and then I give comments, I rejected or whatever. So then it comes back again to me this cycle. Then when I read this application, I have read it before. So there may be a possibility that your application, your new application, go back to the same panel. You may not know, right? So in order not to, in order to answer he or she in another way, you just mention your methodology that you are not going to use MRI. because technically how it is not relevant or something like that. Okay, then this question will not come out again.
Okay, all right, thanks. So we can just add a few lines, and it's again our luck, right? That because whether the reviewer sees that comment or not, and what, because was a very irrelevant comment, and this was the only comment that we got, with no other comment. So I was just wondering that if we revise it again and we just put this comment, so we will see how it goes. Okay.
They won't see your previous cycle comments. Only anything related to this cycle's comment.
Okay, all right. Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions? Guys, please, this is the time for you to ask for more questions. And as said previously by IPSR, the opening will be any time soon. We expect somewhere around November and the submission by end of December. So if you have the time, kindly start writing your proposal now, so that the moment we open, I think we will only open for 2 or 3 weeks time for you to submit. So the best time is to write now and get ready with the proposal. The moment the opening is there, you can just put in the info and submit, right? Okay guys, any more questions? Because if there's no question, my part which I'm supposed to share with you guys, which is the do's and don'ts, actually I already shared during long time. So I'm not going to have that section anyway. Okay, I think we have some questions coming in. Can industry partners be a small scale business?
Sorry, can industry partners be a small scale business? I think it's okay as long as it is relevant.
You can
Relevant should be okay. Yeah, it does not need to be very big company, okay, but it is relevant, because I remember last time my industry partner is also a small company and they accept because it is relevant to my topic. Okay, because some of the research topic is very unique. Okay, only a small company, small setup or something like that, they have it. It's fine, but it has to be relevant.
Yeah, and also I think if it is minimum as an enterprise we do also. I mean, they have a formally registered company. You know, sometimes they have a small scale business, but then it's not a registered company. Then
okay, cannot.
You cannot use that as a industry partner. Okay,
yes.
So industry partner, you have to add them, and they have to give you an intent letter, which is letterhead from the company, and the company has to be registered with the Suruhan Jaya. We have to be registered company. Even an enterprise we do, but must be registered. Okay, next question. If it's acceptable that if the industry partners just provide us samples to run experiment and a workplace for us to run experiment?
Oh, justification. I think, yeah, this is quite a relevant one, very important one. Justification for the role, right? Role of the industry partner. Yeah, I think this is valid.
Sometimes, just to cater that question, sometimes they give us the samples only, but then they expect us to give the output results to them. So you have to watch out also as a PI whether you want to share the results, because they are only providing samples, and workplace, I'm not so sure what you mean by workplace. Are you going to do testing in the, are you going to use the, are you going to do the testing in their place, or are you going to use some machine in their place to do your study, or it's merely just collecting of samples? So sometimes merely collecting a sample could not be a collaborative partner or industry partner, because you can go to any outlet of IWKA or some other industry and just collect the sample of water, they don't mind. But let's say they give you samples and you do the analysis in the company and they provide you some facility and so on, yeah, then that is really a role of the industry partner. And also be sure that are you going to share the information to them? You are just collecting sample, but you are also want to share. They also want a share of your results. In this case, they need to contribute more. So make sure they contribute more.
Maybe also you can say they will share their industrial experience. Okay, from what I write there is industrial experience, and then be the advisors, right, related to industries, their experience. Because we are more on knowledge, right? Theoretical development.
We are more fundamental, so maybe with knowledge sharing from them, that would be very good. Just not only providing samples, but also knowledge sharing. So whenever you are doing some experimental work, they can help you out with that. What about a nursery providing their plant samples? As I said, any industry, as long as they are registered and related to your work and they are providing samples, that will be an industry partner. Registered nursery, who able to give you a letterhead name based on the nursery for the collaboration. Okay, right. Any other questions? Okay, we'll wait for 1 more minute to go. If no questions, then I think we can end the section. Okay, another question. Do we need to specify in the application form that part of the data will be shared to the industry partner?
I don't think so. We need to be so specific. Application form, then which part of application? Oh, okay. In the justification, I don't think we need to be so specific. We will just say what will be the role and the function of the industry partner in this collaboration. That will be good enough.
I mean, when you say you're going to share data and so on, then it also implies that funding is from ministry, but you're sharing data to industry, and the industry is not doing anything. So this is also can be, I mean, a negative point for your proposal. So sometimes don't oversay things.
Yeah, correct.
Whatever asked, don't go over transparent. Show them everything what you're doing, and then it captures you and become a negative point. All right. Because always remember, industry is a private entity. Unless you're working with NARIM as an industry partner, or you're working with Mint and so on, they are also government-linked companies, then it's a different story. If you're sharing, they don't mind because it's a government link. But when it's private entity and they are not giving you any benefit in the long term, then it shouldn't be. Okay, guys, any more questions? Wow, so one by one. Okay, I guess if there's no further questions from the members, thank you very much, Prof. Dr. Khoo Hooi Ling, and thank you very much, everyone, for participating in this workshop. And as previously we mentioned, you are always welcome to raise your questions and queries by email to either Prof. Huang, Prof. Khoo, and myself, or IPSR staff, Mr. Munir, or also Ms. Banu. Okay, we will try our best to address your questions, especially on the tablet post. The IPSR staff, which is Ms. Banu and Mr. Munir, are well aware of the details in the Takbir Urus. So if you need more information, always, especially guideline as well, you can check with them. But of course, for other tips and pros, cons and all that, you can always email Prof. Khoo, Prof. Huang, and myself, get more information. Okay? With this, thank you very much, everyone. Take care, and good luck for your application. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.